winning. La 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 la. They tried to slap that look right off my face, but I'm still grinning. And the money ain't run out yet, so I do believe I'm winning. For all the mess I was, am and will be continuing. The fun is only beginning. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE SmackDown every Friday night after the bell. My name is John Zadell. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
John, this was an unusual SmackDown in the sense that the main event started much earlier than normal, which got me thinking, what are they going to do here? It's not just going to be a match, is it? Was it just a match? Let's find out, John. Don't bury the lead. What's our top story from SmackDown December 15th?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead. And to your point, we had a main event that kicked off at 9:30. It's Jimmy Uso versus Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Orton wins the match as a result of Solo Sikoa coming in, and then LA Knight coming to save Randy Orton. And then we have AJ Styles returning. So AJ Styles, or I should say Roman Reigns, comes down to the ring to beat up on Randy Orton, and then AJ Styles returns. And then AJ Styles turns on LA Knight, and he leaves the building. And everybody kind of leaves confused. A lot happening at the end of the show here with returns of Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, and an apparent heel turn by AJ Styles. What did you think of this main event and end of match schmaz?
They gave him about 14 minutes. I timed it out as East Coast here time, 9:37 to about 9:51, which still gave him a good 7.5 minutes before the end of the show. So, like you're saying, just one surprise after another, not only towards the end of the match, but then post-match. Great to see AJ Styles back. He does have heat with the bloodline because it was Solo and Jimmy who took him out and gave him his injury. That was a couple of months ago. And so now he's back. So an understandable and a great return. He comes through the crowd, does his springboard, phenomenal forearm onto Roman Reigns. And that's really what evens up the score. Because, at the end here, Randy Orton gets the pin, and LA Knight's marching to the ring, John with Andy Orton, playfully. They had a good backstage banter earlier in the show. And that's when Roman Reigns comes out and ambushes LA Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And then Roman Reigns gets in the ring, and it's, Roman and Randy battle, but then Jimmy makes it 2-on-1. LA Knight evens the odds, Solo makes it 3-on-2, and that's when AJ Styles' music hits it. And this is becoming almost overused, where somebody's music hits, everybody faces the entranceway, and it's the guy coming from the opposite side through the crowd in a black hoodie.
Yeah.
That was AJ Styles. They did it again. And the timing was a little off because, like, Roman Reigns turns around and he's just, like, staring at AJ Styles, deer in headlights, while AJ gets up to the rope and then hits the forearm. So, like, Roman's kind of waiting there a little bit for him. But, aside from things that may or may not be getting overused, it was fun to see. We got a good match, and then we got more stars.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's how you finish a show, and if you can finish the show with leaving us with some questions for next week, like, even better, because there are some questions here. You started mentioning a few of them. What's your biggest thing that you want to see them address again next week or in future weeks, even that emerged from this main event?
Well, the cool thing for me was it was a surprise, a legit surprise. Mm-hmm. I saw the main event. Jimmy Uso's just been getting beat like crazy ever since he won the title or lost the tag team titles, which is pretty nuts. He was supposed to be this huge dominant wrestler, and now he's he's losing left and right.
Yeah, he's a lackey now. He's in the lackey role, like it or not. His history goes out the window. He's a lackey.
Yes, he's kind of downgraded to lackey at this point. And I saw it and I was like, okay, Randy Orton will beat Jimmy Uso, get a pop. Maybe they'll do something with LA Knight. Kind of predictable.
Mhm.
And then, but AJ Styles coming into the mix, I was like, whoa, that really threw me for a loop. It threw this headline for a loop before the show because I just changed it all up.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
kind of already predicted it ahead of time. You could tell a little bit by what I put in the thumbnail. That typically I'm like predicting what the main event is and what will happen. So AJ Styles is not in the thumbnail, although he should be.
It was not. Yeah.
Well, we got to go live, so we got no time. You know, we got to.
Yeah.
We're
We're making sense of it as we talk here. This is the lead.
it's the lead. But no, I think it's pretty cool. And it with AJ Styles coming back, I was like, oh, cool. This guy's on the show. He can wrestle. He can do all the things you'd want out of a guy that will add to the show.
Mhm.
And I'm like, it's good to have him back. I think I mentioned maybe a couple weeks back that they didn't have a lot of good men's singles wrestlers on the roster in SmackDown, but with the return, we had CM Punk kind of get teased with Randy Orton back and now AJ Styles. The
Mhm.
roster looks a little bit more filled out. And now you're not really relying on guys like Grayson Waller to like carry a show, you know?
Right.
Um,
I liked it too. Surprise wise for me, I'm with you. I want to know what happens with AJ Styles here. I do like that LA Knight is now becoming the guy who like he has trouble making friends. Like he'll do business with people, but he's kind of having trouble making friends. It's not in his personality to just kind of suck up to people.
mhm.
But he does want to, he realizes, hey, the bloodline's got numbers. So he's talking to Randy Orton about, hey, when you need me, whatever the time is, I'm there because I want the bloodline too. And he's even telling him, if anyone's going to knock off Roman Reigns, it's going to be me, not you.
Right.
So LA Knight's trying to keep himself near the top. He's trying to, make these alliances, but at the same time, he's just not real good at making friends, So,
Right.
he's this really cool loner, which I think is good for his character because there's too much factioning going on. I mean, it's helpful for heels. I think heels work better as factions than babyface factions because babyface factions it's just too schmaltzy.
Yeah.
But I like when baby faces just kind of seize the opportunity. They're loners, they're tough guys, but they seize an opportunity and say, "Hey, look, we got to team up."
Yeah.
So I like that's going on there. And Randy Orton's a loner too. You've seen him more than I do. He was in a tag team recently before he got hurt with Matt Riddle. They were RK Bro. But Randy Orton, for a long time, he was kind of that lone wolf as well, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, he was
Okay.
a singles guy for a while. I would say, just kind of on that point of like baby faces or heels, either one really having the factions. It's always good when there's a little bit of a wrinkle there because, or there's a little bit of like some disagreement because that's more realistic. Like these teammates don't always get along on any team. Like they're not always like perfect together. Like there's always a little bit of something going on. So the fact that him and LA Knight don't see eye to eye, they're both kind of eyeing the title, right? So they're
rivals.
Buddy with they are rival. They're going for the same thing, so they should be a little at each other. So it's cool that they do that, and it's good to have a bunch of top guys up back in the show, and then LA Knight as usual, kind of being a big guy that's been on SmackDown.
And the crowd loves him. When they did the backstage encounter with him and Randy earlier, he phrased his sort of punchline as if anybody's going to take out the bloodline, it's going to be. And he said his own name quietly. He went L.A. Knight, and you can hear in the background from the arena crowd because they're watching it on the big screen, and you can hear when he goes L.A. Knight, you can hear from the live crowd was loud enough to get picked up on the mics for us on TV, even though they weren't, showing out in the arena. They were showing backstage. That's fun. I'm glad that as they bring back Randy Orton, it's great to see that he's healthy and he can wrestle and perform again. Um, it's wonderful that they're finding a way to keep LA Knight from sliding back down the ladder. The crowd doesn't want to let go of him, and
No.
I don't think he's exhausted what he can do from a wrestling standpoint or just a character standpoint. I think it's great. How does Randy Orton look to you? Coming off an injury for 18 months, he's had neck problems. I've heard he had shoulder problems early in his career that he's never quite gotten over. It's why he won't do lifts and power moves on guys. It's why he selected that inverted bulldog, that RKO is his finisher, because it doesn't require him to lift his opponent. So with all the things that he's kind of hiding that have gone on in his career, I mean, he looks great as a physique. How does he look to you as a wrestler?
It was a good match against him and Jimmy.
I thought so too. I'm just wondering from a comparison standpoint. He looks fine to me, but I was wondering if you noticed anything that you had seen years ago that he's not quite doing anymore, or is he doing stuff now that he had kind of retired for a while? Because he has been very open in these shoot interviews about his injury problems and about some of his limitations.
Yeah, he has never had the super, let's just say, like gymnasticy style or the
No.
high flying style.
No.
He's always been a bit of a bruiser. So,
Mhm.
and kind of a brawler and a bruiser and good technically, just kind of has, I don't want to say 5 moves of doom, but he's got more than that. But, he's
Yes.
got he's got a move set that isn't super complicated. So he's consistently kept up with that move set.
Okay.
I don't think
I
anything.
think he's really smooth in the ring. He looks very fluid in his movements.
Mhm.
And if he's having shoulder problems and neck problems, he's doing a great job of hiding it.
No, this isn't like Flair's last match or something.
No,
Where he's a 75-year-old man rolling around in there.
no. Yeah, Randy looks decent to me, and not having as much of a history with him, he looks main eventer. If that's where they want to go for Royal Rumble, because Roman Reigns needs an opponent for Royal Rumble.
It looks like that's headed in that direction, right? Where Roman Reigns would face Randy Orton.
I think so, like the fresh meat.
Mm-hmm.
Roman Reigns is up over 1,200 days in his title reign here. They said it was 1202. He'll be at 1218 by the end of the year. By the time Royal Rumble rolls around, I think it's the 27th, so he'd be at 1245. So he's getting there. WrestleMania would be up over 1,300. Sometime in the summer, he'd pass 1,400. And now you're talking Hulk Hogan's first title reign as far as length goes, that 1,400 range.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, he's getting in there where it's going to be nobody above him except Bruno, and Backlund.
It's crazy to think, because we were talking last year, like, oh, he's going to drop it at WrestleMania, and then he beat Cody.
Yeah,
And like all signs pointed to Cody winning, but then he just beat him, and it's like, wow.
and we were glad about that, weren't we?
Yes, at the time, and I still think it's kind of proven to be true because he's had good matches since then. Specifically, like LA Knight in Saudi Arabia, that show. He's had matches since then that have been good. And tonight, when he comes out and he just walks to the ring and the main event, the crowd is booing him like crazy. So it's not like he's boring anybody. He's still a spectacle when he comes out. You're like, okay, he's here.
They've done a good job of limiting his exposure. So it feels special when Roman Reigns is on TV.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't overexposed him. And that's the sort of good side of not having him do a lot of title defenses, is that he becomes not overexposed. He's not the working man's champion as the WWE Universal WWE champion. So that's a good aspect of it. The bloodline still has more to go. Jimmy Uso is hilarious.
Yeah.
He's becoming just brilliant. The opening segment of the show, if we want to sort of tie that into what happened here, Roman Reigns was opening the show with the bloodline. He's talking about it. It's promotion time. He's getting in the holiday spirit. And he was talking about he was going to promote somebody to be the successor to the tribal chief. And as he's doing this, they've got everybody positioned perfectly. So Jimmy Uso is right over his shoulder on the hard cam. And as they've zoomed in on Roman, there's Jimmy Uso behind him, like nodded, yeah. There's Jimmy doing that. And then Roman announces Solo Sikoa, and now like Jimmy's like, okay, all right. Just got to go back. So Jimmy has been so good with the facial expressions and the mannerisms. He's almost in the Sami Zayn role.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He's almost kind of filling in for what Sami Zayn was doing before.
Yeah.
It's just Jimmy now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, no,
I like it. Sip of tea there, sip of a warm beverage there.
and it's good. Do you think it's good to have Roman back in the fold? Does it kind of make a little bit more sense? Because without Roman, it's kind of Heyman, Uso, and Solo Sikoa, and it
He's
feels like
got the belt. It doesn't make sense if he's not in the fold.
yeah,
Like, who are Solo and Jimmy trying to impress if Roman's not in the fold? Why does everybody care about the bloodline if Roman is not champion and is not involved?
yeah, and they've done a good job of extending it. And even tonight, I was thinking like when AJ Styles turned on LA Knight, I'm like, is he joining the bloodline? And the bloodline has just continued to be that interesting where they're kind of moving members around in a way. And like everyone's head's constantly on the chopping block. Like there was even a moment tonight when Jimmy and Solo were in the back. Of course, Solo's saying nothing, but Jimmy's kind of like, "Are they going to turn? Like, are they going to cut me loose here? Like, you're not going to turn on me, right? You know, like he's got to."
He's asking Solo, you would tell me if something was up, right? And Solo gives the perfect non-answer. I'm your brother.
Right.
Okay, that was not the question.
Right.
Yeah, they're playing it close to the vest. The looks on the bloodline members' faces as AJ Styles just exited the ring and just walked right past them without moving. Like they stepped aside for AJ Styles.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's three and a half of them with Paul Heyman. There's three of them and Paul Heyman. And they're just like, what's this guy doing? And they all kind of move aside for AJ to just walk past them. So a lot of intrigue going on here. It's a neat way to end a show. Where we get not only a match, but then we get a significant amount of post-match. So I
Mm-hmm.
like what they did there. It lets us talk about a couple of backstage things that happened during the show. It lets us talk about the opening segment where, Randy Orton and Roman Reigns came face to face for the first time really in the ring in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Randy says to Roman, "Look, man, you're a legend, but I'm still the legend killer."
It really shows you kind of how much they attached to the main event of the show with the opener and the segments throughout it, kind of feeding into the main event. And I'd say it delivered.
Yeah.
So this is the lead. Anything else you want to talk about with this specific segment here, Dom? I don't even think.
No, everything involving Roman Reigns, when they do the show correctly, winds up being the lead no matter where it occurs on the show.
Right.
It's like the lead is it's the main event, it's the post match, it's the opening segment, it's the joking around, two vignettes earlier, backstage vignettes and things. It's all kind of that lead story arc, and I think it worked, and they did a good job of sprinkling it throughout the 2 hour program so that the end, while it was a surprise, stuff started making sense. Like, oh, of course, yeah, he's here. They've done this before, and then the AJ thing was a real surprise.
Yeah, for sure.
So there was stuff they alluded to, and then there was stuff that was just out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. I think it's follow time unless you got more to say.
That's a great point, Dom. So that's the lead. We talk about the main storyline of SmackDown, which was kind of ongoing. So let's move on to the next segment here, the follow. And
we had 3 other matches on this show. I don't know which one you want to go to next. I mean, I'll choose one for just now. We had 2 matches that were first round U.S. Championship tournament, and can I say we were worried about this when they announced the tournament 2 weeks ago that we'd get first round fatal 4-ways.
yes,
Just to get stuff done. And I've been pleased, really pleasantly surprised that they gave us 4 first round one-on-one matchups. We got 2 today that were both above average. The one I really want to go to is the one that just hit up against the 9 o'clock hour and barely over that change. It was Austin Theory versus Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens wins the match in about 14 minutes. And the match psychology was excellent too. Kevin Owens was really selling his broken right hand from the previous week.
yeah,
He's got that special cast on it. He's trying to avoid using it. And then, at the very end, he just blindly swings with his right arm and knocks out Austin Theory with that cast. And then he looks at his hand and goes, "Oh, I can do that.
Right.
Why did I do this earlier? Just use the cast." And then covers him for the pinfall. But the 13 and a half minutes that preceded that, I thought was a really good match. What say you about Austin Theory and Kevin Owens? Two guys who have a history. We've seen them a lot recently. I thought this was a good match, and there was a lot of stuff here that wasn't just rehashing stuff they've already done. What say you?
They had a match a couple weeks ago, but I believe Logan Paul was on the mic just calling Kevin Owens fat for like 10 minutes and like being really mean. So that was kind of overshadowed what was happening in the match. But with this rematch, I was able to kind of like focus in a little bit more. And I agree. It was a good match. And it's interesting to see. You think people would play out injuries a little bit more in pro wrestling, like every other sport, like people get hurt and they would go on, but you don't see that. That's kind of an old trope. But he did a good job with all of his stuff, selling the hand, and you didn't really need to have the announcers explain because he made it really obvious.
Yes.
The more overly obvious you make it, the more okay, you just it's theater, right? So make everything loud and obnoxious and over the top. So he did a good job with that, right? It wasn't like he sold it every now and then. It was like he was way overselling it.
Yeah, this was good ring psychology. I mean, he comes into the match with a sort of something against him and having a broken right hand, his dominant hand, and he sells it right away. He doesn't sell it sometimes, not other times, wait till the end to sell it. He sells it the whole time. It's good ring psychology. This is old school pro wrestling, and you were talking about him making sure that the live arena could see it, so that because they can't hear the commentators. So the commentators can, just drive home the obvious for us watching on TV. But, these guys got to perform for the live crowd in the arena. And Kevin Owens is doing that. Kevin Owens this isn't his first rodeo. I thought he did a great job. And I thought Austin Theory was great in this match too. When Austin Theory doesn't have to do too much, I'm a brat kind of stuff and can just show what he can do in the ring. Yeah. I like watching him. He did really well. The seated springboard Spanish fly that he did out of the corner.
Yeah.
For the 2 count. What a magnificent move. The timing was perfect. It looked fantastic. He didn't have to lumber along to set it up. It was like all one incredible motion to leap into it on the top rope, springboard off. Kevin Owens was in perfect position, took the move. It's fantastic. I mean, Theory can go when he's in a match with a guy like Kevin Owens who can bring that out of him. This was match of the night for me. I like this.
Yeah, no, totally agreed. When he's not doing goofball stuff and he just wrestles, and I know that's like a thing you kind of want to have a gimmick or a personality, but his in-ring stuff is good enough that you could just be like, let's just ride that. You don't have to lean too much on the goofball stuff. And for my money, I would agree. Match of the night for sure. And 2 spots I really liked. There's a really cool suplex. I'd never seen it before that Theory does to Kevin Owens onto the ring apron. He kind of grabs his ankle and he does the suplex, but he brings him over in a way where he almost kind of puts him in a figure 4 and then suplexes him. I don't know what it was, but I've never seen it before.
I haven't seen it either. And the other thing about that is Kevin Owens, who takes the move, hits the ring apron while Austin Theory drops down to the ring floor. So that's a really good wrinkle to it. Like Austin Theory winds up landing on his feet while planting Kevin Owens on the ring apron. That was an interesting one. I wonder if the folding one leg under the other behind the knee was just to get just to make it more compact. Maybe that was to make sure that Kevin Owens' feet didn't hit the ropes as they went up.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, kind of tie him up just to make sure that everybody clears in a straight line going up. Because that's got to be a tough move. There's not a lot of real estate on that ring apron.
When I saw the move, just as like what I would do in my glory days many moons ago when I pro wrestle, I would watch matches. And obviously you would you would bite stuff off people that looked like I could do that. It looks safe and it looks cool. And that's one where I'm like, if I was still in it, I would definitely have taken that because I like the way that he can go back and fall safely back like that. And it feels like a little bit less balance involved. Like it's less of a balancing act taking him over if if his legs are kind of packed in like that. So I thought that was a cool spot. And then in addition to that, I think there's another spot that was really cool. Atomic drop to DDT by Kevin Owens.
Yes.
Atomic drop is super easy, and so is a DDT. So why not combo them and make it into like a unique little spot? So I like that.
Yeah, it was the inverted atomic drop, so that
Yeah.
Theory was facing him, and it's like boom, you kind of stun his spine and his back, and then right into the DDT. Yeah, it's a good combo move. And you're right, I haven't seen a lot of guys do things like that, but it makes sense as a combo move, and it's the kind of thing that Kevin Owens could do without needing his right hand to strike with.
Exactly.
So it's up for the atomic drop, and then just left arm, one arm DDT.
That's what oftentimes happens with when people are selling an injury. They suddenly are fine, and then they're like, "Oh wait, my knee hurts again." And then sometimes the knee switches, like because they're gonna get a little lost. But like his right arm is hurt, so he's limited in what he can actually do. So it's a creative way to get around that. It's like, DDT is only on one side.
And then you start wondering, why doesn't he do this when he's got both arms healthy?
Right.
Like, it looks like a great move. Why only bring that out when you're like got one arm tied behind your back practically,
Yeah. No, but he and those two have pretty good chemistry in there, probably because they're both good workers. But
I like it. Anything else about this one? Because you mentioned guys kind of selling an injury and then not selling it anymore. We could go to the first U.S. Championship tournament match for that if you'd like. Grayson Waller versus Carmelo Hayes.
Yes.
Carmelo Hayes sells a knee injury very early, and then he's fine.
Right. And then he's jumping around and running a lot.
Jumping around all over the place, landing without a wince. He's fine. And he winds up winning the match in about 10 minutes, 10 very fast-paced minutes over Grayson Waller. He hits a top turnbuckle leg drop that apparently he calls nothing but neck, which is kind of a basketball thing, nothing but net, because the guy's kind of bent over but on his feet. And that's when Mello drops from the top rope and the leg goes over the guy's back of his neck and drives him into the mat like that. So nothing but net or nothing but neck. I couldn't quite make it out. This is Carmelo Hayes' first time on SmackDown, they were saying. And they did a good thing for him. They put him in the ring with somebody he wrestled a lot in their NXT days. So they didn't throw him out there with somebody he didn't know. So Grayson Waller, good job by Grayson Waller. He was in there to make sure that Carmelo Hayes looked good in this match, and he did.
Yeah, this guy is completely new to me. I don't know who this was, but I thought the vignette before he came out was good. Like, it wasn't like they went too over the top, but they just gave you a little intro. Like, this is who he is. He's from NXT. He's been a champ there, and now he's here. It was like, okay, got it. Wasn't anything too crazy. He came off looking pretty good in the vignette, and then he came off looking good tonight. And, not like a world-changing, wow, this guy's a future star. Like, this guy's amazing, but definitely good enough to be in the ring and huge for him to win. At least one match during the SmackDown tournament. I was actually pretty surprised because we've seen so much of Grayson Waller the last couple of months. I figured that he was kind of due for getting like a win and then losing. I don't think he's going to not wrestle Logan Paul, but I figured he would go far in the tournament. So,
especially with the bracket, right? It looked like Kevin Owens was going to face Theory and then face Waller in order to get to the finals. And instead, it's going to be he faces Theory, and now he faces Carmelo Hayes. They had a little backstage meeting between the two of them while Kevin Owens was getting interviewed. And Carmelo Hayes said, you're not gonna fool me with this or that. You're not gonna little bro me. And as he walks away, Kevin Owens turns to the interview and goes, "Little bro him? What does that mean?"
Right. I like that. That's good. Yeah, I don't know the new
I don't know what it means either. So like I'm with you, KO.
Yeah, that's like it's like Gen Z terminology, but and I'm like, it's a new one to me.
Maybe it's NXT terminology. I don't know. I don't watch NXT. Am I supposed to know that?
No. I think that's I think that's the Zoomer thing. I think it's Gen Z. I think it's Zoomer. I don't think it's a NXT thing.
No.
But,
So this was a really good first hour, wasn't it? We got
Yeah.
2 good matches, including what I think were match of the night. This U.S. Championship tournament looks great so far. I've been pleasantly surprised by it. I've been impressed by it on the high side.
for
We
sure.
got 2 good matches, and A-Town Down Under. They perform well as the guys who put over the other guys in the match.
Yeah.
Theory and Waller did well, and Grayson Waller, he's looking better, isn't he? Physique wise. I mean, when he showed up, he was like this weird talk show host with the plants, and he looked kind of pudgy and soft.
Yeah.
He looks like he's in better shape now.
Yes. I'll tell you what, the less I see him do the talk show promos and the more I see him wrestle, the more I start to root for him and like him when he's just wrestling. I don't really care for his mic work, but I think he's good in the ring, and he's got like a unique move set. And tonight with him and Carmelo Hayes, I thought that it was a kind of a unique match where they're kind of moving in and out of the ring,
Yep.
And I just applaud any kind of wrestlers that go out there and try something a little unique, right? We don't need to have the dive commercial break stuff. You don't have to always follow the formula that they.
Did we get a dive tonight?
What's that?
Did we get a dive tonight?
I don't think so.
I don't think we got a dive. There were some Irish whips, but I don't think we got a dive.
There were some Irish whips. Can't win them all.
There were no dives on this show. John, how did they go to commercial if there were no dives? They must have lost so much money on this show, not being able to do advertisements. There were no dives. They couldn't have any commercials.
This is true. I don't know if Hunter Hearst Helmsley is watching the show and heard me complain that they go dive commercial every SmackDown and said, was watching Don't Bury the Lead. We got to switch it up.
Hey, if WWE, if they're watching us, you can go to commercial break without a dive. You can do things without over exposing some of these moves that aren't great when everybody does them. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, great as a tag team. The less we see of the bratty stuff from the talk shows, the more we see them in the ring. We like them.
Yeah.
Anybody watching live now who wants to jump in the chat, tell us, what do you think of these guys? What do you think of the show so far? What do you think of the main event, AJ Styles comeback? What do you think of guys like Grayson Waller and Austin Theory? I mean, your mid-card's important, and guys who can wrestle and be interesting without winning their matches are important too. What say you there? If you're new to the show, hey, subscribe, give us a like, and stick around, especially if you're on YouTube. That's where our mother load of things is. But tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments, what do you think of guys like Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, especially Waller's progression since this is his first year on the main roster?
Mm-hmm.
What say you guys about him? I've been, from where Grayson Waller started to where he is now, I think he's made progress. I like it.
That's a good point. Where he started to where he's at now. At first, I was like, "Who is this guy?" But now I'm like, "Okay, I kind of see what they saw in him." And as long as you kind of see those improvements early on, and he's not just stuck in his ways, he's kind of getting out of that talk show shell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't do him any favors, right? Like throwing him at the 9 o'clock hour every 9 o'clock hour, and have him go out there and flop around like a fish,
It's like hazing the new guy. It's like, oh, we're gonna see if you can get over it by burying you.
Let's do the most cringy thing possible with you and just see what you do with it, I think it's only really worked one time with like Goldust. I think it's the only time where they did the cringiest thing possible and he got it over.
And somebody got it over. Good for Dustin Runnels for being able to make chicken salad out of that, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Great callback there. Dustin Runnels, Dustin Rhodes, Goldust. Very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Um,
One more match here if you want to get to it.
yes, we have one more match tonight. It's a tag team match, and the Kabuki Warriors go over Selena Vega and is it Misha?
Mishin.
Mishin. Okay.
Michin. Mishin. She was in the OC.
Yes. So cool.
Asuka and Kairi Sane. They're now calling them the Kabuki Warriors. They set this up with a pre-recorded thing of Damage Control, and Bailey talking about it was her plan all along. She knew Io Sky would be a star, and Io Sky's got a belt, and now the Kabuki Warriors. And I went, Kabuki Warriors? That's what you're calling them? Okay. It's
Yeah.
Asuka and Kairi Sane are the Kabuki Warriors. They're going to go after the tag team belts. And then Bailey's going to enter the Royal Rumble, and she's going after Rhea Ripley after she wins the Royal Rumble. So it looks like Damage Control's back together again. And then we see the Kabuki Warriors come out for a match. This is the shortest match of the night. I think it only goes about 6 minutes. 9:18 start here in southern New Jersey. 9:24 is the pinfall here. It's Kairi Sane hitting a top turn elbow drop onto Mishin for the pinfall. Dakota Kai had distracted the ref. Bailey ran out from the back and threw Michin off the top rope. And that allowed Asuka to strike and then make the tag into Kairi Sane. So this is another one of those Damage Control interferes, and it works again this time. They win the match. I'm going to throw something out there for you in this match because there wasn't a lot of surprises from how Damage Control operated and everything. Mishin looked impressive. When Mishin and Asuka were in there, wow, this was a match. When Zelina Vega and Kairi Sane were in there, I went, eh. Mishin looks fantastic. You're still on mute. Mishin looked fantastic. I haven't seen her wrestle in a long time. She was almost in that Rhea Ripley stuck in that role where she's, the female mouthpiece for the all-male faction, and she never does anything. And finally, they let Rhea Ripley break out at the Royal Rumble. This, to me, was the first time I've really seen Mishin wrestle. Impressive.
Yeah.
I want to see more Mishin. What say you about this match and about Mishin? And what say our viewers and listeners here? What say you about Mishin? What do you know about her that I don't know about her being newer to WWE? But this is the first time I've really seen her wrestle. She was awesome.
So, Mishin, I did not realize wrestled because she'd always just kind of been a ballet. But I thought this was actually a pretty good match for how short it was and what it was in general. The Kabuki Warriors, they worked really well together. They did some double team moves that were really like fast moving. Not really like heelish, but maybe we can ignore that. It was good double team stuff. And I think you can see that, and they mentioned that they were tag team champs before. They had like a whole thing. They definitely know what they're doing together, Asuka and Kairi Sane. And then another thing, I think the spot of the match was actually the finish because I haven't seen Kairi Sane a lot. When she does the elbow drop, really unique way to do it. Because I think when you give the elbow drop, typically you kind of land a lot of your body before you hit the opponent. And that takes most of the brunt, right? But Kairi Sane, she just kind of launches super high up and appears to just stiff the person. I don't know how she does it.
There's a variation that she does on the move. The one that's etched in my mind, of course, is Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah.
And the Savage elbow, he hits his opponent kind of perpendicular. So the opponent is lying kind of long ways in front of him, and he hits perpendicular. So he hits in front of them. Kairi Sane seemed to hit the elbow drop where she's parallel to the opponent.
Yeah.
So she almost jumps past the opponent and hits the elbow as she lands next to them. So it's parallel rather than perpendicular. It is a variation on it. I'm not sure if that's more dangerous, less dangerous as far as getting your positioning and timing right on it. But they hit it wonderfully tonight. Yeah, Kairi Sane goes way up for it, lands on that elbow. Mishin's in perfect position. 1, 2, 3. They take it, right?
Yeah. and this was good. From I'd say like this finish is cool, and I thought it was like good enough. Like it wasn't this American classic, but they gave us a lot of wrestling tonight, which I was a big fan of.
It did, right?
Some matches, some nights you're sitting there and they're giving you vignettes and commercials and adverts, and this is coming up, and we're gonna have a show in Australia, and like before you know it, you're like, Jesus, just give me a match. But tonight they gave you some matches.
I think they got the timing down well as far as putting together a 2-hour show. We got lots of backstage stuff. We got lots of pre-recorded vignettes, but they were on the short side.
Yes.
It was like they got in and out on the vignettes. The longest one was the damage control one that was kind of dragging a little bit, but then that went right into a damage control match. I was like, okay, I get it. That was their setup.
Yeah.
And now they're going to go quickly, right?
Yeah. And I know we're kind of going to wrap up the follow soon here. So I did notice that there's a Christmas show or a holiday special next week. So that one probably will be pretty dumb. Like they gave us some wrestling tonight, and then there's like sometimes when they do the holiday specials, there's always like some sort of food fight.
We did see that last year, didn't we? Now this year they've announced it's the semifinals of the U.S. tournament for the number one contender to Logan Paul's belt there. So if we're gonna get both of those should be two good matches. We're then gonna get an 8-woman tag, damage control against a bunch of people that Bianca Belair is putting together. So if you didn't get enough of War Games, here's the shortened version in one ring instead of two, and without. Well, I shouldn't say without weapons. You never know what's going to happen in an 8-woman tag match.
Right.
But, that'll be something.
Yeah, it's another 4-on-4.
Conspicuously absent from this will be Charlotte Flair. We were wondering about this because there was an awkward spot last week just as they were coming back from commercial, so the TV crowd didn't see a lot of it. But Charlotte Flair, if you saw replays of it, big injury to, it looks like her left knee. They said tonight she's going to be out 9 months. We were almost going to do a cheap heat on that, but since they acknowledged that it was a real injury and that she'll be out for a long time on tonight's broadcast, might as well just say it. Too bad for Charlotte Flair. I mean, she's an excellent. You don't like see anybody get hurt. And Charlotte was in a major program, but she's out. Hope she can recover and get back into the women's division, which is awesome. Maybe this means they got to speed up and give us Jade Cargill.
We'll see.
Go to YouTube. Go to Don't Bury the Lead on YouTube and check out our videos. We've been talking about Jade Cargill, about how it was this big splash of a signing, and then we're kind of scratching our heads. We're going, where is she?
Where
they signed CM Punk, and 2 hours later, he's on a premium live event, stealing everybody's thunder after War Games. Jade Cargill signs, and it's been months and months, and we don't know what's going on. Maybe there's an opening now for another alpha female. And maybe that's going to be Jade Cargill. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the follow for me, unless you wanted to talk about that magnificent Karrion Kross pre-recorded vignette we got.
Yeah. So I did not see the Karrion Kross vignette. Tell us all about it. Well, I think that should have been the lead, right?
It was Karrion Kross. He's doing a vignette. I don't know. There was fire.
Okay. So now
he hasn't won a match in like 6 months. I don't know.
He's added fire to the act?
He's always had fire. There's smoke and there's fire, and then stuff is black and white, and they dance. I don't know. I don't know. He looks like he could be a pretty decent wrestler. He's a big hoss. He's a big, thick wrestler, and he moves pretty well for his size.
But
whatever.
The gimmick is what it is. Well, they all can't be winners as far as the gimmick or the segments are concerned. But now we're going to boil this down to the thumb drive.
Thumb drive. We're going to go pass fail here, right? This is the thumb drive. We're going to give this show a thumbs up or a thumbs down. There are no thumbs in the middle here. You got to make a decision. You're the squirrel that's either crossing the street or you're going back to the side you came from. You can't just stand there on the yellow line looking. Okay, we're going to go thumbs up, thumbs down. There are no star ratings. There are no letter grades. There are no number grades.
We're not Dave Meltzer. We don't
We
do
are
star
not.
ratings. We're doing a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
We are not
it.
your college professor. We're not reading your papers and giving you a number through 100.
We're
We
not
don't have time for that. We watch SmackDown. Do we like it? Do we not like it overall? So I'm ready.
All right. I am ready as well. Well, 3, 2, 1. All
Yeah.
right. Look at
Yeah,
that.
you could see this coming from what we said during the show. I mean, we got a lot of good wrestling. We had not only a pretty cool main event with some good surprises, but then we had another match that we called Match of the Night. Um, we like the 8 o'clock hour. Like if they give you a strong first hour, it's almost impossible to have a thumbs down show.
That's true. That's a good point. If you get like a good match at 8 o'clock, then usually it's hot enough going into 9 that.
We got two.
Mm-hmm.
We got a good opening segment with Roman Reigns, and we got two good matches in the first hour. So like it's not like you were waiting around and you were a little deflated by the time they got to the main event. I thought I don't think anything dragged here.
Yeah. And kind of to your point, we got a good 8 o'clock hour. But then in addition to that, we've had some shows where they've been thumbs up and thumbs down or two thumbs down, and they've just been like very meh, kind of going into they had like the Saudi Arabia show 2 or 3 weeks, then into War Games, and it was just a big mess of forcing all these different storylines in, trying to get it together. But I think because we have some breathing room before Royal Rumble, they just keep it simple. They have a tournament. We have some matches. And we are suckers for wrestling shows that have wrestling.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Nothing else to add there. I mean, you're right. We got wrestling on a wrestling show. And this is the time of year when they usually hit their stride. I mean, the road to WrestleMania starts at Royal Rumble, but there's this nice break where everybody can catch their breath. Because during the rest of the year, they're doing premium live events every 4 or 5 weeks. This time of year, they're giving it 9 because they're not going to try and force one in at the end of December.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is the time of the year when they can catch their breath, and they're doing it well, I think.
Mm-hmm. And this is a live show, folks. As
it
always,
is a live show.
And
are we getting a run in from Big John Studd here?
Big John Studd is giving a run in, and
I hear his music.
Yes, and that's him crying.
Okay.
Give me 3-4 minutes here to
bring him on if he wants to get on the show.
Right. Actually, let's see if he stopped. Give me 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So, stall here, Dom. Tell a little bit.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about the vignette.
Talk a little about the vignette that I looked away when I saw who it was. Yeah.
I know. Go ahead.
Maybe Karrion Kross can get a talk show with tropical plants that burst into flames in black and white, and they can see if that gets over. And that way they don't have to force Grayson Waller into it. Good show. Tell us in the comments, what did you like most about this show? Was there things that you did not like about this show? Would you have given it a thumbs down? Because I think John and I were in agreement here that this was not a teetering thumbs up. We've given a few shows thumbs up that were like barely. Like, okay, I'll give it a pass rather than a fail. This show was, for me, a solid thumbs up. This was not a show where I was going, all right, let's hope the next segment's better. This was a show where everything was at least palatable to me. So this is a good show. But hey, tell us in the comments what you thought of it. Don't let John and I be the only ones giving opinions here. And by the way, we want to thank our viewers and our subscribers here. We've put out some edited video clips from these live streams that John makes. He does a good job producing them. We've had some where we've had more than a dozen people chiming in the comments. That's great to see. Subscribe if you can, help us boost our channel, but also engage with each other and engage with us, engage with the content. John does a really good job. If you leave comments on our videos and you have something to say that, you're not just trying to be snarky. I mean, John goes in there. We both read all of them, and sometimes John will give you a a reaction and maybe even a reply to it. So we read the stuff. Your fellow Don't Bury the Lead watchers also read stuff, and we can see people getting into debates. It's great to see. That's more of the fun of covering pro wrestling. So please continue to do that. We are up over 360 subscribers, which is a great threshold to be at. We're a little more than 14 months into this, not even 15 months into it. We've been talking about it backstage. We're a little surprised at the positive reaction we've gotten so far. So thank you everybody for that, and keep going. And if you've watched our show before, you know we do the lead, we do the follow, we do the thumb drive, and then we get into cheap heat. So we've got some cheap heat coming up. If you see something that we may have missed from the world of pro wrestling during this week that you wanted us to talk about, drop that into the comments as well. Tell us what it is you want us to talk about. If you have a link to an article or a video or somebody's tweet or Instagram post, leave that for us as well. Maybe we'll check it out. John and I, we kind of look through the news that comes across our feeds every now and then. And we look at stuff that would make interesting topics to talk about. But hey, we don't get to everything and we miss stuff. So help us out. Help us get a little better. If you see something that you want us to talk about, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Let us know. So with that being said, John, is it getting cheap in here?
Even in December, it's getting a little cheap with the heat here, Dom.
Even it's the holiday season, it's the winter, and yet it's both hot and inexpensive. It is time for inexpensive warmth. Cheap heat. I just got done telling everybody, if you find something that you want us to talk about that we haven't gotten to, please let us know about it, because hey, we don't see everything, and maybe there is something really cool that we want to talk about.
So we're going to enter here. Cheap heat. This is the segment where Dom had kind of talked about this, where we talk about trending topics, things that are kind of happening in the world of pro wrestling, with WWE, AEW, NWA, anything that would be happening in pro wrestling right now that's a trending topic. We'll typically make shorts, YouTube shorts out of them, or we make shorter videos to kind of highlight, some of the stuff we talked about during the show that helps us get subscribers, watch hours on YouTube, and it's been pretty effective so far. So
it's also the thing that the viewers seem to like. That's where the viewers watch, and that's where the viewers comment as well. Mm-hmm. Is the shorts that we make either out of our commentary or out of Cheap Heat. And like you were saying, John, Cheap Heat, hey, we only watch one wrestling show a week that we plan on, which is WWE SmackDown. But the wrestling world is bigger than SmackDown. In fact, it's bigger than WWE. In fact, it's even bigger than just the wrestling ring. Our first bit of Cheap Heat here, the Iron Claw movie. Mm-hmm. The premiere. This is about the Von Erichs. What do you know about the Von Erichs, John? Do you remember them?
Yes. I know that they've got kind of a dark history, right?
Yeah.
Where they were pretty big. They were huge guys in Texas, and they were popular in Texas. And they had all of the tools to sort of be one of those big, giant wrestling families. Like we saw tonight with the Usos. They've done unbelievable. Yep. But you're kind of looking at a family that sort of fell apart due to a variety of tragedies. And I think that probably what the movie will highlight, I'm not sure. I know that, who knows, Rotten Tomatoes, if that's a thing you would base it off of, but it's got good reviews so far, the Iron Claw.
Okay. And it's got some real pro wrestlers involved in it. At the premiere, MJF was there, Maxwell Jacob Friedman from AEW, current AEW champion. John Cena was also there. He's got Zac Efron there next to him. So these guys were there. MJF had a role in the movie. He was also an executive producer, which I did not know. But these guys were here for the premiere of Iron Claw. Let's see here. MJF portrayed Lance Von Erich, one of the Von Erich brothers. of the Von Erich brothers, the one that longtime WWE watchers may be most familiar with is Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado. He had a run in the WWF in, I think, 80s, 90s, somewhere in there. He was pretty popular. Big physique guy, large wrestler, typical Vince McMahon 80s, 90s guy, right?
Yeah.
The big physique, jacked up, big power wrestler, over the top, the theatrics. So Kerry Von Erich was at. I think Kevin Von Erich may be the Von Erich brother who really is the driving force behind the story here. Zac Efron is in the lead role as Kevin. So yeah, the Von Erich family here. Other people there include Liv Morgan, Baron Corbin, C.J. Perry, Chavo Guerrero, and Ryan Nemeth, who were there at the premiere here. So Baron Corbin, haven't heard from him in a while. Liv Morgan, she's been hurt, haven't heard from her in a while. But it's nice that they can get out to these events. So this is a movie event that is also a pro wrestling event, and it's good to see. And this, of course, comes to us from comingsoon.net. So check out more of the story from comingsoon.net. Anything you wanted to mention about this? MJF, you watch him more than I do. You're a big AEW watcher. MJF got some acting chops here and executive producer chops. He's a young guy. This is a lot for him to be doing.
Yeah, it's interesting. His background too. Before he was in pro wrestling, he was a really good football player in high school, and that's also kind of part of his gimmick when he's a heel. It talks about how good he was in high school. But he also was in like a cappella, and he did a lot of like theater a cappella stuff.
Okay.
And I think that's really translated well into he's got no problem shooting a promo anywhere. So just that theatrical background has helped him out a lot. So it's not a surprise to see him kind of get into acting too. Because I think if there's one thing he's certainly got, is he's got the character, and that's all really acting is, right? So
yeah, he understands character development. And enough that it's not shallow. I mean, you can't like be too deep in a movie or a TV show or even wrestling, but he understands that you should be more than surface thin.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is good. I like this. I don't see a lot of MJF, but hey, if he's a talented guy and he can do this, great for him. He may be the best of all the pro wrestler actors. We're talking about John Cena. Hulk Hogan, of course, kind of started it in the 80s with those campy movies, but John Cena's been more of an actor with more depth to his roles that he can play. MJF, maybe he can do that as well. And another guy who's been able to do that. How about The Rock?
The Rock,
He's set to play MMA legend Mark Kerr in the biopic The Smashing Machine. This film has been put on hold for a while, or it's been slow getting started, but this is the same company behind Iron Claw, A24 Films. They will work with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, $7 Promotions to produce a movie based on Kerr's life. And so I guess if you own the production company that's partnering on the film, you get to cast yourself as a star. Hey there.
Right.
I know somebody. It's like Dusty Rhodes booking himself to go over in every war game, right? It's like, I know a guy, so talk to management. I don't know. So, but I mean, The Rock can do this. He's been a pretty good actor as well. He's had some depth to the roles that he can take on. And if it's going to be a physical role about a guy who's in combat sports, why not pick a guy like The Rock? I mean, I don't know much about Mark Kerr and if he looks anything like Dwayne Johnson. If there are Mark Kerr fans out there who want to tell us, is Dwayne The Rock Johnson going to be able to pull this off, or is this just going to be silly looking where you're going to have to suspend anything that you know about the real life Mark Kerr?
Right.
I don't know.
Let us know in the chat, and maybe give me 60 seconds here, Dom. I'll be right back. But let us know in the chat if you guys think The Rock is going to be able to put together a good movie here. He's obviously a successful actor in Hollywood. I don't know if that means good or just successful, but let us know.
It looks like this is trying to give a big screen treatment to something that was more of a documentary. They're borrowing the name of the 2002 HBO documentary. I don't know how much of the story arc will be the same. They say that the documentary HBO put out by now more than 2 decades ago covered his career and struggle with addiction to pain medication. No words leaking on as to what this movie is going to focus on, but they did say that Kerr has given his blessing to this project. So that's good. It's not like there's any animosity with it. So we'll see what happens there. We've got another article here. You guys are into the Mount Rushmores of wrestlers, aren't you? We've gone through Hulk Hogan's Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. Pick 4 wrestlers that you think were the best of all time, that for some reason you would want to carve into the side of a mountain. The Mount Rushmores of wrestlers. We've done Rey Mysterio's. We did a neat one from The Undertaker, where he only chose wrestlers who were 6 feet tall and under to go along with the gimmick of his podcast. We've had some controversy on them. We've got Braun Strowman here. By the way, the last article came to us from F4W Online, which is Figure 4 from the Wrestling Observer, with the aforementioned Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez. This one on Braun Strowman comes to us from Sportskeeda. Braun Strowman names his 4 WWE legends on his wrestling Mount Rushmore. Apparently, Braun Strowman did not take long to give this answer on this short interview. Real quick with this: Undertaker, Kane, Big Show, and Mark Henry. So Braun Strowman only picking not only other huge wrestlers, but also guys from the modern era who he's been in the ring with.
Right.
So if you're not enormous and have wrestled Braun Strowman, you're not in the upper echelon here. It's his list. He's allowed to do that. Let's go by his criteria here. Other big wrestlers from the modern era: Undertaker, Kane, Big Show, and Mark Henry. Do you have a problem with any of those 4 names? Is there anyone else you would have thrown in there?
Well, I think it kind of makes sense for where he's working. Well, I guess really Big Show's in AEW and so is Mark Henry. So it's not even like he was doing a WWE like buddy thing. Maybe just 4 guys that have helped him out in the past and showed him what to do.
As a big man, right?
Mm-hmm. So maybe just his 4 buddies or mentors that he's looked up to. So I never really have a problem per se with the Mount Rushmore of people and what they think. Do I think these are the 4 greatest wrestlers ever? No. But I don't. Are they even the 4 best big men ever? I mean, Andre the Giant kind of seems like a snub for the greatest big man ever. But if you're looking at his criteria being people that have trained him or like 4 of his buddies, right? He's just putting his buddies up there. So I'm all right with it.
I wonder if he crossed paths with Kevin Nash at all, because Nash is another one of those real big wrestlers who was successful, won belts, drew a lot of money, was a good promo. These Mount Rushmores are a lot of fun because they give you a peek into the mind of the wrestler, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Where are these guys? What's of most interest to them? What do they find most important? As it lets you think of, they're wrestlers, they're performers, but they're also somewhat fans as well. And so it kind of makes you, it gives you a glimpse into what these guys are interested in and what fascinates them. So, yeah, Braun Strowman, Undertaker, Kane, Big Show, and Mark Henry. I like that. I like that. I like where he went for them.
It's funny. He said it all in 5 seconds. Like he just knew it right away. Like he didn't put a lot of thought into it. He's just, I'm going to name 4 of my friends and all my big friends.
It says here he was a former Wyatt family member. I don't recall that because I don't know much about the Wyatt family. I saw Bray Wyatt very briefly during this last rather unfortunate run he had here. Was Braun Strowman in the Wyatt family? Do you remember that? Was he named Braun Strowman back then?
When Bray Wyatt, before he was doing the Firefly Funhouse stuff, and that's what you saw, unfortunately, he was doing more of a gimmick where Bray Wyatt was like a backwoods guy. and he had like a rocking chair and a lantern, and he was a creep. He's a creepy guy from Florida, and it actually really worked well. And then Braun Strowman was in his stable with him. So
so he was. All right. Very good.
and if you look at Braun Strowman, he looks like a guy that should be a creepy backwoods Florida man. So
with the big old unkempt beard, yes. Right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Not well manicured like yours, John.
No, not
you do not look like a backwoods
I hope
bumpkin.
Tell us down in the comments in the chat if I look like a backwoods person.
Oh no, let's not. We may not want to encourage people to comment on our appearance here. We're paid for our analysis, not necessarily for the visuals.
Right. True. That's why we have the little squares right now.
We have little squares. The content is taking over. You mentioned somebody earlier in here who had a supposedly last match over the summer. Ric Flair, he's back in AEW as the manager for his longtime coworker, rival, and friend out of the ring, Sting in AEW. He's now talking that he wants to manage Andrade, who is his real life son-in-law. Right?
Right.
They mentioned here he is married to Charlotte. Is that correct?
Right. He's married to Charlotte Flair.
Charlotte Flair, who we've also mentioned, she's recuperating from a knee injury. But Ric Flair, is he turning into the house guest who won't leave? Like Tony Khan brings him back for 2.5 months because Stinger's retiring. And now like Ric Flair is flying like, hey, I'd like to manage this other guy.
You know, I would say that, but he would be a good manager. Andrade doesn't speak English, and it's tough for him to get over because he doesn't speak English. So if Flair talked for him, they just wore nice suits, he comes out and screams like a maniac. Yeah, I think there's a fit. And I think there should be more mouthpieces for some of these guys. Imagine if Ric Flair was the mouthpiece to Austin Theory. Like, hello, that would fix a lot of problems with him, right?
Yeah, we've talked about how great it is for some people to be able to serve as mouthpieces. Like how Bayley was able to do for Io Sky to get her to kind of help bring her along.
Great example.
But here's let me tell you something. This is Ric Flair talking. Man, he's a working fool. He's 240 pounds. He's not a little kid. He's a full-fledged heavyweight. Ric Flair wrestled at about 240 as well in his prime. So this is Rick would know about that. He takes English lessons left and right, but it's still hard to holler and scream and be fluent in English and say the things so that it comes out without being broken. In other words, I need to be there, Flair pointed out. So he's making a good sales pitch here. What say you in the comments? Do you want to see Ric Flair back more long-term in AEW? And do you think he could transition to a full-time manager? Yeah. We've seen wrestlers do that. Don Callis has done that. Bobby Heenan did that famously. So other wrestlers have been able to transition into the manager. Freddie Blassie did it. Mr. Fuji did it. Don Callis did it.
Yes.
But no one who was the stature of Ric Flair.
No one that big, right?
Has that, like somebody who'd be on a lot of people's Mount Rushmores. Nobody the stature of Ric Flair has transitioned to managing. So this would be breaking new ground. Do you want to see him give it a shot?
I think it's a perfect fit, especially because the alignment makes sense. He's already his son-in-law. Yep. And it just feels better to have Ric Flair in the wrestling world. And I think it could be a boost for AEW as well. I think, they've had kind of a rough couple months here with CM Punk. And, I shouldn't say they had a rough couple months. They had their biggest show ever in the UK, which was the biggest show ever in pro wrestling in an outdoor stadium.
Wembley, yeah.
In Wembley. So it hasn't been that bad, but I could just feel there's a little bit of like they need a little bit of good news, and this would be good news.
Okay, very good. We'll leave it there. Ric Flair, if he's not going to wrestle, if he's just going to be a mouthpiece and maybe every now and then bump or interfere, then maybe Ric Flair can transition and be, this fantastic in-ring performer for decades that becomes a tremendous manager for someone. And hey, maybe we'll close with something that's kind of funny. Bill Goldberg was at a Falcons game against the Panthers, and this happened. This is from Twitter. He kind of spears a guy. It was against the Bucks. I'm sorry, wearing a Bucks jersey there, and then he's got his Atlanta Falcons belt there. Bill Goldberg was a football player in college. He was briefly, I think, in the NFL. He may have played for the Falcons. That was not really a spear. That was more of a spine buster. Maybe the unfortunate gentleman taking this move didn't really know how to take a spear. So they said, just look, I'll pick you up and we'll just hit the mat together. Bill Goldberg, it seems like he got a big pop down there in Atlanta. The Falcons liked him. I don't know, man. Is anybody in that division above 500, or is 6-7 winning the NFC South at this point?
I think 6-7 is yes. It's a pathetic division.
Somebody's got to make their move. Will it be the Falcons, thanks to Bill Goldberg spearing this poor gentleman wearing the Bucks jersey? Is this the turnaround that the Falcons need?
This might be. We'll have to see. We'll follow up on this story as the weeks go on.
All right, we'll check the standings post Goldberg spear and pre Goldberg spear.
Yes, that'll be that should be the movie or the video I'll make is will the Atlantic Falcons go on a run now that Bill Goldberg destroyed an intern or whoever this guy is?
A poor marketing intern who drew the short straw in the office.
Yes.
Well, I think that's it, John. It's cheap. It's heat. It's Bill Goldberg spearing an intern.
Right. There was one more thing I wanted to talk about, and I had to hop back. So I don't know if you could pull up The Rock again.
Pull up The Rock again. Yes, I will share the screen.
We could just talk
Sorry about that. Yes, The Rock.
We could talk about it like this, maybe.
Sure.
Cool that Rock is doing the movie. Always kind of his thing was always to be in Hollywood. Do you think now that he's going to be in this movie that kind of puts a damper on the rumors that he would return to WrestleMania and win the belt from Roman Reigns?
I think it does, because they'd have to start bringing him in now, not only to make sure he was in ring shape, but to really build the story properly.
Yeah. And I think he'd have to be back. And I think when he came back on SmackDown randomly that Monday night and there was a writer's strike, we're like, hey, if this strike continues, he might have to come back and win the title because he can't do anything.
Yeah.
And he's one of these guys that has to be doing something constantly. Like he's constantly doing movies. He's selling his like tequila left and right. Like he forces on people. He did like a music video. Like he just keeps going and going and going.
He's a workaholic, maybe high conscientiousness, industriousness. He's got to be doing something, got to feel productive, got to feel useful. Yeah.
He was on, he did Joe Rogan's podcast, which is always, it's a little weird because Joe Rogan usually has like obscure guests and he had like super mega celebrity, The Rock on there. Mm-hmm. But they were talking about him running for president and they had like a pretty serious conversation about it. So I think that's probably down the road for him is a presidential run. So like he really is one of these guys that like he's not going to just sit on the beach and retire and chill out. He's crazy. So
if he's got it in him, he's a high energy guy. He was that way in the wrestling ring, and if that's really his personality, then yeah, I mean keep busy. If we remember a year ago, this is when John Cena showed up to get in a tag match. Towards the end of the year, it was him and Kevin Owens against Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. the SmackDown match we got. And then that allowed Cena to just be in the fold and work out a little ring rust to take out Austin Theory at WrestleMania, where he put over Austin Theory, even though they had Cena make his entrance with all of the Make-A-Wish kids, who were disappointed 12 minutes later. But yeah, this is the time of the year where you have to start building that, right? So if The Rock is about to start a big movie project, and I think it's almost better if we put that to bed. If Roman Reigns is going to lose this belt, it's got to be to somebody who can take it and run with it and who it would matter for. We talked about this and we thought if Randy Orton would be a good guy to take the belt from Roman Reigns. And, I kind of said to you, well, what's Randy going to do with it that he hasn't done 14 times before?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, where does Randy Orton take this belt if he wins it?
Yeah.
Like, Cody Rhodes could do something he hasn't done before with the belt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
LA Knight could do something that he hasn't done before with the belt. What would The Rock do? Unless they were bringing back The Rock to just put over Reigns.
Whoa, that would be crazy. The Rock comes back. Everyone loves The Rock. He loses to Reigns, and Reigns is just Superman. That would be awesome.
I might want to see that.
Right. Yeah. The Rock comes back for one last match, and Reigns just. What if he squashes him?
Oh my goodness! Like, didn't Goldberg do that to Brock Lesnar in one of their matches where he just surprise speared him right away and pinned him in a few seconds? Oh my goodness! Yes, the main event of WrestleMania is over in 15 seconds,
and it's a complete squash match. That'd be
complete squash. It's the first Roman Reigns match in 3 years that hasn't been won on interference and a ref bump.
Yeah,
unless they can work a ref bump into a 15-second squash match, be Roman's first clean win in a long time. Right?
Yes. And I think we're kind of moseying on down here. We're talking about the Italian goodbye here. So this segment here is where we start to say goodbye. We ain't leaving. We're not done. We're going to just keep talking. And kind of about that topic, Dom, I know we're not at WrestleMania yet, but who do you think is eligible to knock off Roman Reigns and win the title? Now that the dust has settled here, do we have a bunch of guys? Do we have one guy? Is it just Cody? Who is it?
I think the one caveat is if the Royal Rumble winner goes after Roman Reigns, then I don't know what to make of that. But Roman has kind of run the gauntlet of baby faces at the top of WWE at this point. Everybody's kind of had their shot and lost. So I wonder if somebody's going to get their second shot at him and win it. I would not be disappointed if Cody Rhodes did it. In fact, I think this would be a better Cody Rhodes win to lose first and then win the second time around than if he just came in off an injury and just squashed the historic title reign last year at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
I think what Cody has done since April has made him a better potential champion if it's him. Because I wouldn't mind seeing Cody Rhodes do it.
Yeah. Cody Rhodes, I know you haven't seen him a bunch, but Sami Zayn, he just felt like he was so hot at that moment, and it continues to be ever since he's been way over. So I like Sami Zayn in the mix.
They're doing an injury angle with him now on Raw, though, so he's going to be out for maybe a month.
Ah, okay.
But maybe he's a surprise entrance into the Royal Rumble and wins it, and who knows?
Yeah. If Sami Zayn won the Royal Rumble, the crowd would go crazy, right?
Yes.
That'd be like, yes, we're going to get Sami knocking off Roman Reigns. Another guy, LA Knight.
Yes.
He's made it clear that he wants Roman Reigns' title.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't said, oh, I want the U.S. title from Logan Paul. Because there's been a lot of rumors that those two would be a perfect matchup. And then Knight would go over Logan Paul. I just feel like a U.S. title, I just think where he's at in his career, he's 40, he's super over. I would love if he won the belt. And I would look almost at the U.S. title as like, that's cool, but he felt like a great wrestler. Like a U.S. title is kind of like you're starting out, like you're Rey Mysterio, and you've done everything you can do, and then it's like, give him the U.S. title. He can have that for a little bit,
Because we need a baby face to get the title to elevate the next heel.
Mm-hmm.
Or you give it to Austin Theory, who's a young guy with a lot of potential, and you want to see what he can do early.
Exactly. The U.S. title doesn't feel like it's appropriate for LA Knight at this, where he's at this stage.
Yep.
It's a little too under him. So
I think he'd be a great Universal champion, especially because his personality of being kind of the loner, and he's already got some of that, chip on the shoulder, and he's kind of the loner. I think he'd be good at it. Anybody who wins the belt from Roman Reigns, it's really going to be a sea change, because they're not going to have a faction behind them. It's not going to be this enormous production every time the guy comes out, and they probably can't have the guy just hide, for lack of a better term, hide behind his wise man, his spokesperson, and just stretch out his title defenses till it's like once every 3 months or so. So I because Roman Reigns is the kind of guy you can do that with, where you can have him off TV for several weeks, and then he comes back and the crowd gives him that big full-throated reaction, the boos. Some people cheering because it's nice to see him, but by the end of the show, everybody's booing Roman Reigns. I think it would be a shame if you took LA Knight away from the fans that way and only had LA Knight show up once every 3 weeks. What I've been really impressed with in the post-Crown Jewel run for LA Knight here is how they found a way to get him on TV almost every week in a big spot where the crowd can cheer for him, even if he's not officially in a match. So I think it would be a really different, whoever wins this belt from Roman Reigns is going to have a really different title reign than Roman has had.
Absolutely. And hey,
we're really going to have to put a lot of thought into this creatively.
We have some people in the chat here still.
Hey, there we go.
Or Twitch and YouTube.
Excellent.
Who do you guys think should actually take the title? Who would you want? If Roman Reigns is going to lose the title, let us know in the chat who should take it. I scared one person off. I asked them a question and they ran away. They were there for
like, no, we don't want to talk. We just want to watch.
Yeah, I scared them off.
If you just want to, no pressure. You don't have to give us your thoughts. The door is open. The dance floor is open. The invitation is there.
All right. Well, we're heading toward the Italian goodbye here. We still have somebody hanging on from Twitch. We appreciate that. You've been on here the whole show. So thank you.
If there's a new person who takes the belt from Roman, who should it be? If it's not somebody who's already had their shot and failed to get redemption, can somebody just have a one and done with Roman and beat him? And if so, who could that person be?
Yeah. I'm thinking too, like
Gunther.
Gunther
could do it. Gunther's the guy who could have a one and done and beat Roman Reigns, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Gunther would be good enough, right?
Yep.
Like, yeah, he's an animal. He's beating everybody. If he took the Intercontinental belt and relinquished it and was like, no, I'm going to go for the big belt.
Yep.
If he won the Royal Rumble and he throws the Intercontinental title away and says somebody else wrestle for that, I'm go for that one. You'd be like, yeah, do it. It's going down.
I've already set records with this belt. I'm coming for the big one. Roman Reigns, I want you.
And he'd be a baby face now because he could easily be a face.
He could turn, couldn't he? Because you and I have brought this up, that his persona, his character is saying things like, we want to bring wrestling back, real wrestling, respectful wrestling back in professional wrestling back into the ring. And you and I go like, yeah, that's what we want to see. This guy's a baby face, And everybody else thinks he's a heel because he's so mean. He just wants to wrestle. He makes fun of the guys who dance around and do flippy stuff. The crowd wants to see. The crowd wants to see the gymnastics and the flippy stuff. And so he's kind of been a baby face the whole time to you and me, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's Captain America over here. He's Hulk Hogan. He's been a face to me the whole time, Gunther. So yeah, that'd be cool to see him. But yeah, so kind of winding on down here in the Italian goodbye.
Mhm.
Good show tonight. Promising show tonight. We had some really good cheap heat. We'll make short videos out of that cheap heat. We do have 2 videos out. I don't know if you told the folks here, but if you want to check us out on YouTube, we have 2 about Jade Cargill. They have a considerable amount of traction. We've got a lot of comments, people disagreeing, people agreeing.
Mhm.
Interesting. A lot of arguing in the comment section. But
That's good though. And maybe since we know WWE watches don't bury the lead, maybe they'll take that as a sign that it's time to get creative rolling on what to do with Jade Cargill and when to bring her out here.
yeah, like come on, WWE, step it up. Checking the stats of the channel. Give me a sec here as I pull that up. I'm going to look at the analytics of our channel because I want to see how many subscribers we have.
We're getting there. We're growing. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed and who, if you're getting alerts and you enjoy that, hey, stick with us. It helps the channel grow. It helps more people find the channel. The engagement, not only the subscriptions, but the engagements with the videos, the watches, the comments, the likes, all of that kind of stuff helps other people find the channel. So if you'd like to help other people find Don't Bury the Lead and all of our content that we're putting out, hey, help engage with us over on YouTube. If you're watching us on Twitch or on Facebook, thank you very much. We appreciate the support on those live streaming platforms. If you want to see the full archive of stuff, join us on YouTube. Don't Bury the Lead on YouTube. That's where not only all of our live streams get archived, but these shorter videos, the hashtag shorts, and the edited clips that John does that he's been talking about. That's where you can find all of that great stuff. And while you were checking out that stuff, I went and just checked the NFL standings. Yes, it is true. The current leader in the NFC South is 6-7. It's a 3-way tie between the Falcons, the Buccaneers, and the Saints. The Carolina Panthers are 1-12. Oh, well. And since we've mentioned our friends at AEW, Tony Khan, his father, his family, they own the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 8-5 and leading the AFC South. What a turnaround for that franchise in the last few years behind Trevor Lawrence. So, hey, maybe the better the Jacksonville Jaguars do, the more rope Tony Khan will have for AEW, right?
Yep. So we have 368 subscribers. If you're watching now, you could be 369. 2 more recent videos. We have 436 views on the Jade, and then another Jade video has 327.
All right.
We have 1,000 on a video about Undertaker and his Mount Rushmore, but we have several that are over 1,000. So go check out our channel.
Very good. Check out the best of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find all our cool stuff in there. Yeah.
Could be, who's watching right now, you could be subscriber 369 if you wanted to. It helps out our channel tremendously. So just saying. So anyways.
Look at these faces. Don't you want to help us out?
Come on. It's a holiday season, right? This means the world to us.
Like Roman Reigns was saying, it's time for promotions.
It's time for promotion. Promote us to 269, will you?
Absolutely. Promote us up, inching us closer to 400 subscribers. And hey, maybe over it.
Right. Yeah, no particular goals, but once we hit the 400, we're going to do something, Dom.
We are, okay.
Well, I said 269, 369 it would be if this person were to subscribe.
400. I wonder what we would do for 400. We wore very interesting glasses frames in the shape of 100 for 100 subscribers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we'll do that. I think we'll do that again. I'll have to look up 400.
You just have to tape something to the 1 so that it's now a 4.
All right. Well, Tom, let's see here. We got Next week we'll be here still Friday night. No reason not to be. We won't be hitting any holidays, so I think we should be good to go there. If you're watching, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. This is the Italian goodbye. We just kind of ramble for a while here before we leave. But anything else you want to talk about, Dom, before we hop off?
It's been a fun show. It's been a fun chat again, as always, my friend. And we'll look forward to doing it again next week.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Dom. I appreciate it. Thanks to the people that are out there watching, and have a great rest of your evening.